Are you wanting to master down a niche in your industry? Maybe you're just lost, not knowing even what to do as we're closing out the year. So this call is it for you. I am talking today with Carolynn Castillo, the Probate Queen. She has worked in over 100 transactions on the probate area, and then also every single year closing more than $15 million in probate sales. So this, not only if you're interested in probate, but if you want to learn what it takes to niche down, to be disciplined, to know your market, and then also to only work with sellers, again, this call is it for you. So make sure you guys are following the page, hitting that notification button. We have calls every single week introducing top leaders with whatever they're working on their market and how it's working for them. And they're just putting everything on the table so that you can apply that to your business and take to the next level. And all the information for how to get in hold of Carolynn is going to be in the description below. Book a call with her, book a call with me. Let us know how we can help you. We're in this for a win-win collaboration in this industry. So let's do it. Hi, everybody. As I shared this amazing introduction, now you get to meet the legend that I have for our call today, Carolynn Castillo. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Amanda. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know you have a busy schedule, but we're so excited to hear from you and just kind of really take, hopefully, I know someone's going to be able to get one little thing out of this call today that they can implement in their business today. And that's the reason why we're here, because we love collaborating and we want to make this industry a win-win for everybody. So, well, we got to go to the back, way back when. Love hearing the story to get to know more of you. So what were you doing even before real estate and what helped you get into this industry?
Yeah, so I actually got into real estate at a very young age, at 18 years old. So I was actually working at a real estate office when I was 17. And I was working in the office with the phones and things like that. And I just knew that I wanted to be in the real estate business. So literally, as soon as I was legally eligible to take my license, I went ahead and became a realtor and had a lot of fun doing it. I was mainly doing rentals at the time and would sell like one house and then not work for like 6 months. So, young person, having fun in real estate, then got married, had a bunch of kids, okay? And it was cool because as a mom and having a real estate license, you are able to care for your kids full time and also still make money, selling houses here and there instead of being locked into a full-time job. So I did that for several years, just kind of friends, family, just wherever I could. And then when most of my kids were, in elementary and very, settled with school and stuff like that, then I actually got a job doing phone sales before I got back into full-time real estate. So I was actually at that company for about 4 years and probably would actually still be there if they didn't move to North Carolina. So I was love the company. I was always a top sales girl. I won all the awards. And they were moving, so we weren't going to relocate. And right in that moment, it was like I had to make a shift. And my husband was like, get back into real estate. You can do it. I'm like, we don't like get a steady paycheck, like, and he's like, you got this, babe. My husband's always been like my number one fan, a huge supporter. And but I actually found something that was like right in between. So it was actually at the time the number one Keller Williams agent for the whole state of Florida,
Wow.
and she was hiring for an ISA. So I had the opportunity to basically do phone sales, which is what I had just came out of, for her working inside of a real estate office. And I worked for her for about a year. And then instead of making calls for her, I started making calls for myself. And then the rest is pretty much history from there. So, funny enough, I've been in real estate since the beginning, since the beginning of my career.
So now, so how long it's been that you're just dedicating yourself to real estate?
9 years. Yes.
Amazing.
So, yes, and very proud of that, as a working woman, that you're able to provide for yourself and your family 100% on just real estate, It's everybody's dream and their wish to be their own boss, but you and me both know there's a lot that goes into it, and to just never have to go get a job or never, not be able to make it. And every year I get stronger and better and more sufficient. So could be a very rewarding career.
Absolutely. But that's so amazing. Like, I mean, I love that you kept it real. You're like, hey, I'm making money. I'm going to take some time off and just enjoy my life. And then when I need more money, I come back and try to sell another house.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Well, and I mean, obviously, life, brings different things. Now, you, as I say, you had kids, and then now kids are on to school, and you're like, what am I going to do next? Even though you had something that you enjoyed, that you were doing it. But I love how it was just still a full circle and brought you back into real estate again. And we are happy that you are back in here because you have so much to add with all the experience you have. So I know you say you love being on the phone, which is just like not my forte. So congratulations to that. But how was this even transitioning? I know you work for someone first, like as you say, that's her ISA, but then like, that you focus like, hey, now it's time to do it just for me. I'm going to focus just on my business. And I know that's great that you have your partner, your husband, that it's like super supportive, but did you have to go through your own mindset shift, like that I can do this, like, why am I scared? Or why haven't I been doing this before? Like, or why did I stop? Like what was going on in your mind as you're making that shift?
Yeah, so early on in my career, I believe that in real estate, it's a lot of inner disciplines. So yes, we're selling houses and just kind of what real estate is, but then it's the master of self. It's the daily disciplines. When you're your own boss, there's nobody telling you what to do. You're not going to get fired, if you show up or you don't show up. So when I was a young woman, I didn't have those disciplines really built out where I could really have the maturity level to just, do everything the way that it needs to be done.
Mhm.
You're in essence running your own business, right? And so when I got into working in the corporate world, it really, just got me into that schedule. You work 40 hours, and then when I went to work for the realtor as the ISA, again, it was still with that structure, of hey, I had a boss. Like if I
Mhm.
didn't show up or I didn't book appointments or whatnot, I was gonna get fired. So it was kind of like when I left her on a Friday and I started calling for myself on a Monday, I still kept all of that work ethic. And I'll actually, a funny thing is I had not been to my kids' like activities at school for quite some time when I started working because when you work a corporate job, like you only have so many days off that you can take. So they have like moms and muffins or they have like, just random things at the school. You would miss out on those things. A lot of working parents do. And so I remember when I was actually my own boss, nobody was gonna fire me, but I actually like didn't allow myself to even go do those things, because I kept like that very strong work ethic, like, hey, you are working for somebody else for 40 hours. You should be working for yourself 40 hours plus, work even harder for yourself. So it was really, getting used to that, that shift. And I never stopped. Like still to this day, I work this like a full-time job and some. And I see with a lot of realtors, when they get into it, right? You don't have a boss, you're at home maybe, right? I'm in my home office. And who are they gonna call? Who's your family gonna call? You, okay? So somebody needs a ride from the airport, or somebody has a flat tire, or hey, can you pick me up? Or they just like the family and your friends just kind of like assume that you're available, you know? And I see a lot of realtors when they first start off getting pulled in all these directions. But I always tell them, listen, if you worked at a job, you could do it after 5, after 6, right? And so just, I always just kept that work ethic, and I think it's been really a huge part of my success.
No, absolutely. I come from even before doing real estate, also working from home. And my family absolutely like use me and abuse me with all the things. Like, you're working from home, what are you doing? And I'll be like, I'm in meetings all day. And they're like, what do you mean? What kind of work is it? My mom is like one of those people. I think now they already understood because I had to create my boundaries, even coming to into real estate, that yes, I'm still home because it's so easy to be distracted. And that's already like a huge nugget that you're sharing about just the discipline of running your business. And that takes a great segue, guys. As you know, as we've always been doing these calls and have amazing people in here sharing, what's working for them. Carolynn's information is all on the description below, and you can definitely book a call with her and just understand how she's been helping all the many agents in her group, because that it's just transcends into even if you're not in Florida, because the discipline of work, it's for all of us. I'm here in Seattle, we're like literally the polar opposite here on the country, but that is just so crucial to have a successful business. So now moving on, you've been obviously in the business for a while, you have this discipline that is being helping you, and then you being working with buyers and sellers. Have you been like creating a niche for you, or you just kind of be more open and just kind of helping everybody that reach out to you?
So I don't work with buyers at all. I learned that very early on that I was not meant to be a buyer's agent. Okay.
Mhm.
Even when I was a young lady at 18 years old, I was working at a rental office at that time where I was renting apartments, and even taking people around, and like, okay, you want this one, choice A, B, or C. And so very early on, I developed the skill of making phone calls to get listings.
Mhm.
And that's just like my cup of tea. Like if I had to be a buyer's agent, I'd probably rather sell water on the side of the road. Okay, to be totally honest. And I just don't have really the patience that it takes. Excuse me, I'm actually getting a call on my computer. Um, Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So yeah, I don't really have the patience, and so I really enjoy more of like working with sellers, going to get the listings, being a listing agent. So, and I also liked it as a working mom. I think that being a listing agent has a lot of value because everything's done by appointment. Right.
Mhm.
So you and me both know if a hot new listing comes up and you're working with your buyer, you got to be over there like a banana split.
Yeah.
And so you can't be like, oh, well, I'm on my kid's game, or, oh, this is happening. Right. And then potentially your buyer misses out on the opportunity. Right. So the cool thing about being a listing agent is that everything's done by appointment. So I basically had structured my business off of the times where my kids were in school. And then I would had set days that I had evening coverage, like where my husband would be home, and then I would go out on like set days that I would do evening appointments. And that's just been, I love that so much, just being a listing agent. I did traditional sales. Like I mentioned, I was working as an ISA, so I've done like for sale by owners, expired, circle prospecting, cold calling, all of those things. When I went out on my own and I wasn't working for the ISA, I just did straight cold calls. And
Mhm.
again, that's just who I am. I'm a phone sales girl. I'm good
Yeah.
on the phones. For me, it's not really that big of a deal. You just pick up the phone, you have a conversation with the other person on the other line. And I was doing really well, pretty successful, probably about like, I think my first year on my own, I did 26 transactions. So, pretty good. And then, but I was getting to the point where I was like, I was working for myself, but then like all these sellers, like sometimes they can be a little much, and, with their demands and just kind of catering to them. I had a joke. I was like, but next time I slide over the listing agreement, I'm going to slide over a Xanax, prescription, so everyone just calm down, okay, while we go through this. Um, so I was kind of like at this transition in my business where I was successful, but I just wasn't feeling 100% fulfilled. I was making money, but there's just like the fulfillment where I was starting to lose it, And so I actually got a referral, and the family, it was a probate. And at that time, I never even knew what probate was. I never even heard the term probate. But she's like, I need your help to sell my dad's house. I was like, okay, I'll come over there. She's like, no, I can't, go over there. I got to come to your office. I'm like, okay. So she comes to my office and she explains that her dad had passed away and he had a young girlfriend. So the dad was like in his 80s or something, and the girlfriend was like 30. And basically, the girlfriend had gotten to be made beneficiary on all his accounts, his bank accounts, 401ks, everything. And the last asset that the family had access to was his primary homestead, was his house. But the girlfriend had locked and key it, was not letting the family come over.
Whoa.
So, they were at a very critical point in the house. He had a reverse mortgage, and basically the attorney was saying, "Hey, you got to do an eviction to get this lady out of the house." So they had met with me first, and I said, I'll just go over there and talk to the lady, and see what's going on, you know? So that's what I did. I went over there, just had a civil conversation with her, got on her level, was able to understand, was able to get her to willfully leave the home, And then I was able to get in there. We had to stage the house, clean it up, prepare it for sale, got it sold, and I was like, wow, like I love this. And most realtors maybe would have been like running for the hills, and saying never again. But it was like the challenge and the helping somebody in need. And believe it or not, I still get messages from this family to this day that says, we'll never forget what you did for our family. And so I started then looking, how could I find more of these? What is probate? What is the situation? So basically, probate is happening in everybody's state, everyone's city. It's actually a global thing. It's the legal process of transferring a deceased person's assets over to their heirs. Okay. And as a realtor, you're going to run into it 100%. Every realtor will run into probate at some point. And so for me, though, I started looking for them and found out that it's actually a public record. So similar, like how you can get like a foreclosure list, or you can get like these different lists to call as a real estate professional. There's a probate list. So I started calling it. I was getting 1 to 2 listings a month by speaking with the executors that they want to sell the house. They inherited it. They don't want it. And after doing that for about a year, I just decided to go all in on probate. So it's been about 4 years now. I'm 100% just do probate real estate transactions. And I've really built out, a lot of solutions for the problems that these families go through. And it just like kind of just like made me like complete, as a professional, because I'm able to make the money as a real estate professional, but also servicing families, really helping with them, kind of getting into maybe some of the nitty gritty of people's lives. But that part of me is what I was really looking for. So now I do probate real estate, and I train realtors too, all across the country, how they can get into probate as well. because I believe that this is one of the biggest niches that our world is going to be experiencing over the next 20 years, especially, because right now we're about to go into the great wealth transfer. So that's
Mhm.
basically where all the baby boomers are expiring. In the next 5 years, the youngest baby boomer will be 65. So, it's just kind of like the birds and the bees, and the baby boomers hold the greatest amount. They almost hold half the wealth of our country is held by this generation. So right now, all of that wealth is about to be transferred over to the next generation. And it's a huge opportunity for realtors because they own a lot of real estate. And the families don't want to keep it, and so they need, that guided professional that can kind of help them through that process and make it smooth for the family, at a very rough time.
Wow. I mean, like I knew you haven't had a niche, but maybe I had heard here and there, but that's why I love so much these interviews because, we go deep and I love you sharing. There is something that is so important about niches, and we talk about this all the time. And you actually found something that you enjoy too. And even though you kind of found you that one first deal, but you found so much joy in the midst of it all because I know it's not an easy one to deal with. There's a lot of emotions in that happens, especially after someone passes, and maybe a lot of family members that are involved in the scenario. So you're not just talking one to one; you're talking to one to many. So that is pretty amazing. So I'm so glad that you touched on it because I remember not on probate, but I did a training for REO. And then for the 3 hours that I was there, I was just thinking like, why am I here? I was just like, this is not for me. But I guess I don't even advertise too much that I'm certified on that because I don't focus on it. But that is amazing. And that's so exciting because it is not something that is really talked about it. I'll say that. Like I feel like you're one of the few people that I have heard about working in this, area with real estate. And you're sharing the data too, like, more and more work and need is gonna be coming from that. And I know we all can serve anybody in real estate, right? But when you're like, become the expert in a specific area, your name is gonna, pop up more than mine would because I don't have that background. So that's pretty neat. I love that. And you've been doing that all around Florida. Is that what you're focusing on?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, so how are agents finding you? Because I'm curious. Like as I say, like this is not a topic that I personally hear often. And then so how are agents finding you specifically and start getting, working with you on the coaching side?
Primarily through YouTube. Yes. I think people mostly find me on YouTube. They're YouTube University. They're looking up, they're trying to get education, and then, they find me. And, I try to put out a lot of content that can just help guide people, educate realtors on what the opportunity is, what are some of the things, because you're right, probate is not for everyone. Like I have some, realtors that have come to me and say, "Well, what do you want to do in real estate?" And they're like, "I want to be in luxury, and I'm like, "Okay, this is not in probate." So, obviously wealthy people do pass away, definitely. But in working in probate is more of, think about it when you go on a listing appointment, right? They're saying, "Oh, Amanda's coming over, light the candles, make sure everything is perfect." Like they want it to be beautiful when you arrive. They think that you're going to say the house is worth more because of how they present it to you. But in probate, it's like the complete opposite, right? The family is almost embarrassed to have you come over because the house is in disarray,
Mhm.
when somebody passes away, whether it was just a tragic accident or if it was someone was ill, and they were in their last days, nobody's thinking about the house. Nobody's thinking about selling the house, So these houses are the opposite of, just walking into a beautiful experience. So You have to create that experience. So it does take the right agent that, does want to get involved on that empathy level and, provide the services. But the cool thing about it is that the more problems that we solve in the marketplace, the more we can charge. Okay. So I've actually been able to double my listing commission on what I charge for my services because of the problems that I'm solving.
Mm.
So, yes, there is a bit more moving parts to it, and sometimes I tell people it's like we're do all this for the family, and then we're like, oh yeah, and by the way, we also sell the house. So it's you are very involved in, the probate, the legalities, the family, the property preparation. But it can be a very rewarding career for someone that's looking for something that has maybe a fulfilling component to it. Because, like I said, I got to a point where I was like, yeah, I was making money, I was having fun, but in order for me to really go to that next level, it was going to require me to really take those steps of like becoming the mayor of the town and, really putting myself out there. And my personality is a little bit more reserved, believe it or not.
I wouldn't think so.
I know some people think that's funny when I say that, but I actually, like I like to go to the grocery store like incognito, like I like to go to my pool and not be like on. I just like to kind of live a private life in that sense. Because being a realtor, a lot of amazing realtors that, are in our group and yourself, are literally like celebrities, like the mayor of the town. Like you guys can't even go somewhere without like, oh, hi, Lisa. Hey, how you doing?
It's true.
You guys are like the paparazzi following you. So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful journey. But everybody has a different path. And so that's where I found for me. And so if there's, any realtors here that are looking for that type of niche, a little bit more on the human side of just dealing with people in their life and situations, because it's something that never goes away. So in the good market, guess what? People are still passing away. In the bad market, guess what? It's a never ending lease, or it never stops. It literally never stops. So, it for me, it provided me that consistent work where you consistently get listings, every single month, and you just keep getting better and building your business. And, I love it.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm gonna have to dig in a little bit on this just because
Yeah,
I am also like
go
now
for
a
it.
little bit fascinated,
Go for it.
with this process. So I mean, I know you shared that you just kind of start doing like, did you have to get a certificate in probate or
No,
okay, I was just curious if like, to be an official, I not everything you need to have a certificate, but I was just kind of curious if it was something that it's required for you to, you know.
they have them out there. You can, there's programs out there. I've taken programs. I technically am certified, but it's not a requirement by any
Mhm.
means. Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you shared that, a lot of the ways that agents I found you, it's on YouTube because I know you pour a lot in there. You give a lot away. So definitely, guys, make sure you guys are checking out her YouTube as well, because even if it's something like you have just even a little itch, like you want to learn more about it, like you're gonna find everything and all the resources there with her. And also, like, if you guys are watching this and you have actually questions, make sure you guys are using the comments, because both of us will make sure that all of this information is available for you. So we're here in the end of the year, which is kind of crazy to think about, like 2025. It's like literally, few days a week, before we get to the new year. And just even if it's just speaking about like, how it made a difference even for your business. One, I love that you share. You've been very like focused, which, one, you already knew you wanted to be a listing agent. I know you have even narrowed down which type of listings you want to do. But, how was that just that transition for you? Or it was something that you're just like, if a buyer came to you, like, how do you handle when a buyer comes to you, or you help a client that now they want to sell, like how do you, are you still helping them, or you just literally focus on the listing side only?
Yeah, so I will work with a buyer under certain circumstances, like if I'm selling their house and, it's a direct, like simultaneous transaction. Just had an opportunity to help a past client. Unfortunately, they got a divorce, and then the husband and wife both had to purchase a property.
Mm,
But I will work with like a showing agent, that will go and show the houses, and I'll kind of just be like the brain on the deal, writing the contract, negotiating, advising. But I don't really, I don't drive people around and show people houses. It's just not, this business, you get into the business because you want to be your own boss. So do what makes you happy. Now, there are know some agents that love touring homes, like they excited about it, then wonderful. I've met some incredible buyers agents that are just make a killing. They're very successful. They're very efficient. And so that's the cool thing is that, we could do whatever we want in this business, whatever makes us happy. And then as far as niching down, it was kind of scary at first, when I first was just doing cold calling, just circle prospecting, cold calling. And then I added in the probates. So it was like, it was just another kind of like lead source. And then when I realized I really love probates, then I kind of added in foreclosures because it was kind of like along those lines, but then I realized that I didn't really like foreclosures, that it wasn't really what makes me like probates doesn't really have that. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go all in on this, and it actually opened up an opportunity because I moved about 4 hours away from where I was born and raised. And then it helped me to expand my mind that I could actually do real estate virtually,
mm,
without being in one location.
yeah.
So then I was able to do probates in multiple counties and multiple areas without physically being there. And so that's where then you're able to get the volume of, how many deals you want to do a year. And that's how I just ended up, just going all in on probates. So
Wow.
now pretty much 99% of my business is probates. If I get somebody that contacts me, like they want to buy a house, I'll happily do a referral to someone. If it's a simultaneous transaction, then I will facilitate it. But yeah, and you do get other listings, like other families will reach out to you to sell their houses, and, neighbors that come into the open house and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So it's not to say that I will turn down just a regular house sale, but like all my marketing, all of my lead generation, like everything that am working on a daily basis is geared towards probate.
Yeah, no, that is super cool. Because as you say, like even we're talking earlier, you come into the business, you have so many things that you can be doing, and it's so easy to be distracted, even just as far as just knowing your schedule. And then now you're like, okay, I can do all of these things inside real estate, which it
Mhm.
can also make you distracted because you're not like getting really good in one or two specific areas. And becoming the expert. And I think that's something that if you can learn, in the very beginning, I know not all of us know what we would like to do when you're getting started. But if you can figure it out that sooner than later, what do you like to do and really invest? I don't think I ever heard from anyone that have really niched down that they said it didn't work. Like they
Yeah.
became the expert of that. So as we're coming, around to closing here, which I've been loving, having you here and learning more about you. What would be some, tactical thing that you would suggest, with your experience that you have, the discipline that you have, the systems that you have put in place, for someone that is just like, hey, it's new year. We cannot do anything about what 2025 went if you did not make all your goals that you had, but you have the opportunity to do something different in your business this coming year of 2026. What would you say? What would you share, with whoever's watching us today?
Yes, I think the number one thing would just stay consistent. So whatever is in your mind today, whatever, you have that you believe that this is what you want to do. Because, if you would have asked me 10 years ago if I was going to be in probate, I would be like, what? Like, what's a probate,
Yeah.
So, God will reveal to you when you get there, but give whatever is in front of you today, whatever opportunity you have right now, that you're saying, this is where I'm going to focus on. I believe the number one thing is just to go all in on it, right? And
Mhm.
a common mistake that I think agents make is they give it a shot once, twice, three times, and they're just like, oh, forget it, this doesn't work. And then they're on to the next thing, right? And so I share this story when I had first left being an ISA and I went out on my own, So, of course, I was filled with my fears and like, am I going to do this? And I had a lot of pressure that I probably self-imposed pressure, but just like if I was going to be able to provide for my family, like it's pretty serious when you're in, commission sales, like you don't know if you're going to make it, And so I had called for almost 1 month and got nothing. Okay. And I was like strict. I was like 40 hours a week because I had no business. So if you ain't got no listings, okay, and you're not driving nobody around, okay, the only thing you should be doing is lead generation, And for me, that was cold calling. So that is if you want full-time, pay, you got to give full-time work,
Mhm.
So when you don't have any deals on the board, if you're starting your 2026 and you don't got any listings and you don't have any deals on the board, you need to apply 40 hours a week to lead generation, So my story is I went week 1 with nothing, week 2 with nothing, week 3 with nothing. And you can imagine I'm like starting to really doubt myself, right? I'm starting to say, maybe this wasn't meant for me. Maybe I should have stayed being an ISA,
Yeah.
And the week 4, okay, I got the appointment. I went to the guy's house. I got my first listing when I was on my own to the tune of a $15,000 commission check, which was 3 times what I was making as an ISA, right?
Wow.
And it was 1 month's work, okay? And so, but had I quit, had I said, "Oh, the hell, this doesn't work," so in our business, like it's perfecting your craft, it's getting better every day, and it's time on task. So if you don't spend enough time, you're not going to see the results. So, whatever's in your mind right now, whatever ideas you have right now, commit to them 100%, and see it through that you do get success in that venture. And then from there, God will reveal like the next thing for you, But that would be my tip going into 2026. And I don't think you're going to fail if you
Yeah.
commit on
Yeah.
that.
No, I love it. Consistency is key. And you share something too, right? If you have no deals right now, stop doing whatever you're doing if you're not lead generating, because that is what's going to bring you the next client, for your business. Well, and guys, I know you've been, following my channel, which I appreciate it, but make sure you guys are go and follow Carolynn and see all the things that she's doing. You're definitely going to get things that you can implement in your business, even the discipline of it. It doesn't matter if you're doing probate or not, all the things in the systems, figuring out your niche. It's all the things that we both can partner up together with you and help you take your business to the next level, especially if you're feeling stuck here coming into 2026. Carolynn, thank you so much again for your time. All her information is on the description. Make sure you guys are booking a call, getting to know more about her. And who knows, maybe we both can be helping you here into the new year. We love you. Thank you again. We'll see you soon. Bye.